face your old team? Does that carry a ton of weight to you, or just because it's a different coaching staff, is it a little different?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's not about me. Got a lot of respect for that program and had a few great years there, but I'm here, and so it's no extra motivation for me. I'm trying to win everyone, so nothing really different.
Week 1, obviously, a tough game for everybody but Trent in general. I'm wondering, just your message to those guys and being able to flush that game and move on and trust what they're doing.
Yeah, and even Trent, everybody sees the stats and they see the big plays, but he'll be the first one to tell you that we can play better. He can play better. The whole group can. And so I just think ultimately that's a program why we got to coach better. They want to play better. We just got to really kind of put it all together from that sense. I think the messaging kind of stays the same because I don't remember what his exact stat line was, but there's definitely plays either left out there or plays that Trent could affect things better, and he knows that. He'll be the first one to tell you that. So the overall general theme, really from top down, is we got to all really kind of ratchet up our game.
Coach mentioned yesterday decision making on the route running. That's curious about everything that contained in that question. Like, how often in routes are there choices for receivers to make, or versus being more set? And how do you think after one game of experiencing that live, do you expect improvement in game 2? Like, what needs to be better there?
Yeah, it's not like we're a run and shoot system where there's all these different options on things. We have a few things where a few people maybe get to have a little bit more options. It's not freedom, but it's options, to do some things. But it's really just kind of, more than anything, it's coverage recognition stuff. And sometimes it's even just the angle that you make that decision at. And maybe you're supposed to, kind of bend the route versus a certain coverage, and maybe the degree that you bend it isn't quite what the quarterback's on the same page as, or something like that. So we're not out there freelancing and saying, hey, giving the pen to the players out there. It's just making sure that a lot of times, like I said, it's just angles and it's slight coverage adjustments more than anything. So I would just anticipate that to be better, because that's just growth that our guys, I think, see the field pretty well, and we just got to improve and adjust on a few of those things.
So it's more the little things that need to be tightened up headed into this weekend, basically.
Yeah. I don't look at it like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? It's just, it's subtle things that end up, it's kind of death by inches at the end of the day.
The loss of Darius was obviously a big one, but you got a lot of young guys able to step up. I think of David and Eddie and Malachi. I'm curious, what have you seen from them in that week 1 performance on film, and just kind of mixing them into this offense more?
Yeah, I think they demonstrated they can do it. I think that all of them can play at a high level, and now it's just about continuing to grow and develop and gain the experience. And game reps are different than practice reps. You want to build game experience over time, and you look at a guy, if he plays 12 plays a game right now over the course of the season, that's almost 2 full games of experience. So as those 10 or 12 plays becomes 20 plays, you just start building on that. And so but they all demonstrated that they're very talented. They want to do well. They work hard. So it's just a matter of just them continuing to improve.
Defensively, compared to what Cal does and their approach, is Fresno similar, or do they play differently in their secondary? You have to prefer a different look this weekend?
There's actually, there's actually a lot of similarities schematically. I think that when you look at what Fresno does, and the defensive coordinator there does a really good job, and he was at Northern Illinois before, and I coached against them in the bowl game last year, and they're really sound, and then they pose some problems schematically on third down. So, I think they are well coached, and just kind of trademark of the program, they're going to play hard. And that's a good combination, for them. So, we got to make sure that we're prepared, and ultimately just comes back to the execution side of it, because they do a really good job schematically, and they play hard.
Is there they played twice, you played once. How much of an advantage is it to have 2 games in your belt as opposed to 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it for them, the advantage is it's a new staff, so that's 2 games with the new staff. But I think the big thing is just now there's both of us at least have a game. I don't necessarily think 1 game, 2 games. I don't know how much that plays into it.